What's going on? What's going on, people? Back again. It's your man Kris B with another video, sharing another video. Now, today I wanted to talk about the swamp and share a video of how the swamp operates and how the swamp is in action. Now, they're having live hearings today, talking about how they, going after the Republicans are trying to impeach President Biden. But, basically it's a save face thing. Everybody knows the corruption in the Biden family, but, these are high rollers. You can't just go after them. People is not going to just slap the cuffs on them, and in this lawfare two-tier legal justice system that we have, you get to see firsthand how the swamp operates. And make no mistake, the swamp sticks together. At the top, at the highest levels, Republican and Democrat, they stick together. Some of the things that you may see, it may look good for the Republicans, but then politically it doesn't. And they always seem to fall behind politically on certain things, especially when it comes to criminal activity. Seems like they always make a good case. The Jim Jordans of the world, the Matt Gaetz of the world, it looks good on TV. I remember Trey Gowdy and Jason Chavis used to do the same thing. They look real good on TV. Like, dang, somebody gonna be in trouble. Somebody gonna get jammed up, man. But criminal referral from Congress, I don't think holds the same weight as it used to. Back in the days when the mob was prevalent, if you got a criminal referral from Congress and you was a mob member, you was probably worried about that back then. But these days, especially in the era of Trump, in these past 8 years, a criminal referral doesn't mean anything, to these people. So you get a glimpse into what Trump is going through and what he's fighting against when he says draining the swamp. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I'll give you a little taste.
Very idea. And as always, he remains very, very keen on the opportunity, end quote. I'm certain that this phrase, a certain relation of mine, refers to Vice President Biden. Devin told me about this golf course conversation shortly after it happened. Ultimately, this paragraph was deleted from the final version, with Hunter following our general rule of thumb on business deals: say it, forget it, write it, regret it. Further to that, I recall being with Hunter Biden and Devin Archer at the Peninsula Bar in New York, where Hunter took a call from his father and told him things were going well with Henry's Allen Harvest, and that he might need a little help getting across the finish line. It was not the only time I heard Hunter speak with his father for business reasons. I was present when Hunter called his father on May 4th, 2014 on a cell phone, put it on speaker mode to have him say hello to Yelena Baturina, a Russian oligarch and an investor in Rosemont projects, and her husband, Yuri Luzkov, the former mayor of Moscow. Devin Archer was also there. Hunter said, quote, I'm here with our friends. I told you we're coming to town, and we wanted to say hello. The vice president said hello, some pleasantries, and I hope you had safe travels, and then said, quote, okay, you be good to my boy. Hunter responded by saying, everything is good, and we're moving ahead. The vice president said something about, quote, being helpful, and Hunter ended the call by saying he was going to call his father later. Before this call, Hunter sat next to Yelena Baturina at a table, and I heard him speaking on business matters generally. A few days after this May 4th party,
These are the openings.
An email my lawyer provided to this committee shows that Devin had confirmed Ms. Baturina was committed to a quote, of $10 to $20 million in a burden investment banking client. In an effort to build this financial platform, I engaged in unlawful conduct. Our companies were entrusted with $11 billion of union pension fund money, whose trust I betrayed. I pleaded guilty I've had 8 years in federal custody to reflect on my actions. I'm profoundly sorry for committing these crimes. I deserve the lengthy sentence I received. Nevertheless, as I set out more fully in my full statement, I believe the SDNY prosecutors did not indict Hunter Biden on the same deal for political reasons, despite then available documentation that we were partners, were involved in decision-making that involved illegal self-dealing, and all of us had financially benefited from these schemes. In fact, Hunter Biden and Devin Archer's company, Rosemont Seneca Bohai, received $15 million from the tribal bonds fraudulent scheme to be invested in the Burnham Group. I've offered
and to to make a little clarity too, the two witnesses for the Republican side are former business partners of Hunter Biden, and they have came forward. They was criminally charged, then they did time, and now they're coming forward to explain their side of the story. Of course, Democrats is going to try to discredit them, and on the Democrat side, they have former Trump people that used to work for Trump. You know what I'm saying? But now he's supposed to be a criminal because he went out and is looking for dirt on the Bidens. Since when is that a crime? That people do it all the time. They do it on the campaign trail all the time on both sides, looking for dirt, political dirt, or criminal dirt, if better. Because, most times you get accused of something, you just step down immediately if you're running for something, Not anymore, but let's continue.
Supply this information to the government about Hunter Biden's crimes, but the prosecutors have been uninterested. And my request for commutation I filed in DOJ in December 2020 did provide information about Hunter's culpability. The DOJ has retaliated against me and vigorously objected to my being placed in home confinement pursuant to the CARES Act. I applied for home confinement on February 4th, 2023, and I was approved on June 9th. On June 12th, this committee issued a subpoena for Devin Archer, and the BOP reversed my approval on June 13th, with the SDNY prosecutors strongly objecting to my release. I've been appealing this reversal, and with each stage, the BOP reason for my denial has changed. During this period, the period beginning in January 2023, I was sexually assaulted by a member of the prison staff at FPC Pensacola. He persisted in sexually harassing me for many months thereafter. I had hoped to receive home confinement, which would remove me from danger. My judgment was clouded by the shame I felt for not being able to prevent the attacks. I was well aware, as inmates, all inmates are, that the Bureau of Prisons had a horrible record on these matters. I believe my disclosure would have made things worse for me. Unfortunately, the sexual harassment continued until early August, when the prison correctional officer's comments became more threatening. I feared for my safety. I decided to seek counseling from Chaplain Dixon the next day on August 10, 2023. The chaplain was visibly upset by the events and asked to bring in Warden Salisbury, who quickly opened a PREA investigation, which is a reference to the Prison Rape Elimination Act passed by Congress. After further debriefings, I was immediately escorted to a vehicle and driven by senior staff hours to FPC Montgomery, a separate facility. I'm grateful the committee has opened up an investigation of these matters, and I appreciate Chairman Jordan and Palmer and Subcommittee Chairman Biggs signing the letter. I believe I've been a victim of a pattern of retribution by the Department of Justice. I believe I'm putting myself at grave risk within the BOP for providing information on these matters concerning the president and his son. I've been treated professionally at Montgomery. I want to thank Case Manager Coordinator Anthony Barnes and Warden Randy Keys for their help in facilitating access to my attorney prior to this interview.
Thank you, Mr. Galanis, and I want to.
Now, this is what I really wanted to show y'all in these congressional hearings, how actually these people get down. You know what I'm saying? That's why, politics for the most part is boring to most people, because, you sit in there and got to see all this point of order and order of point, and then you just hear all this buffoonery, and it can get boring sometimes. But, that's really what they want. They want to bore you out your mind so you don't pay attention. But I pay attention.
To thank all the witnesses again for being here today. We will now begin the questions, and I want to remind members on both sides of the aisle, each member has 5 minutes. I'm going to adhere to that and hit the gavel. If the question has been asked, then we'll allow the witnesses time to respond. But we're going to try to get in a lot of questions from a lot of members, and I will begin the questioning, followed by Ranking Member Raskins. Again, Mr. Bobulinski, thank you for your service to our country, your military service. Appreciate you being here. During the 118th Congress, this committee has investigated Joe Biden's involvement in his family's influence peddling schemes around the world. So let's start with that. Mr. Bobulinski, was Joe Biden involved with any of your business dealings with Hunter Biden and James Biden? Was Joe Biden involved in his family's attempts to sell their access to him? You set out a form to form a legitimate business. You set out to form a legitimate business with the Bidens. Did you come to find out that the
Now, see, right off the bat, look how the Republican question it is. It's mumbling, fumbling, and you'll notice the distinct difference that when Democrats do the question, a precise, sharp question, makes you seem like they are more strategically together than the Republicans are. In a lot of cases, they'll be the truth. Well, let's go.
Biden family had no interest in doing real business?
I did.
Mr. Galanis, are you aware of any times Hunter Biden used Joe Biden with Joe Biden's knowledge to benefit their business associates?
Yes.
Which business associates?
Yelena Baturina, Russian oligarch, testified about Russian, Chinese, Chinese fund manager, Henry Zhao, and Nikolai Zlochevsky, a Ukrainian oligarch, oil and gas oligarch.
Okay. Now that we've established that Joe Biden was involved in his family's business dealings, I'd like to turn to the financial records we've subpoenaed. One major point my Democrat colleagues downplay is how much money the Bidens accumulated from foreign business ventures in such a short period of time. We have over $24 million to the Biden family and their business associates from 2014, while Joe Biden was vice president, to 2019. Mr. Bobulinski, there came a time when you were attempting to raise $10 million from the Chinese to pursue an actual business deal, a real business deal. But it wouldn't be correct to say this was a $10 million deal, would it? What did the Bidens conceive of the business with the Chinese becoming?
The Chinese were committing to deploying billions of dollars in infrastructure projects here in the United States as well as around the world.
Mr. Galanis, what was the financial goal you, Mr. Archer, and Hunter Biden set out to achieve? Was it millions of dollars or billions of dollars?
Billions of dollars.
Billions with a B.
Yes, billions.
Now I'd like to turn to some of the statements Joe Biden has made during his presidency about the findings of this investigation.
Billions and billions.
Mr. Bobulinski, Joe Biden has said he never interacted with his family's business associates. Did he meet with you?
He did.
In fact, are you aware that Joe Biden also met with...
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. He did
yes,
multiple times.
Several, okay. Are you aware that Joe Biden also met with Rob Walker, Eric Sherwin, and Devin Archer too?
I'm generally aware of it.
Mr. Galanis, as you discussed earlier regarding Yelena Baturina, the Russian oligarch, you were present for Hunter Biden calling his then vice president father with the Russian oligarch Yelena Baturina. Present, correct?
That's correct.
You also were present for Hunter Biden's conversation with his father about a board seat on a Chinese company board. Is that correct?
I was present for a call Chinese transactions discussed, yes.
So, Mr. Galanis, isn't it true that when Joe Biden said he didn't interact with his family's business associates, that's not true, is it?
I believe it will be misleading to the point of being an untruth.
I want to touch on the fact about the absent seat in the middle. Hunter Biden has chosen not to attend today's proceedings. I've given Mr. Biden exactly what he asked for before his deposition. It's clear that Hunter Biden knows his testimony would not withstand public scrutiny. Joe Biden has not been truthful about his participation in schemes to sell access and influence. And today's witnesses will show the American people a side of the story that the president and his allies on this side of the aisle are eager to hide. Mr. Bobulinski, can you tell us about your meeting at the Beverly Hilton with Joe Biden?
The short version or a long version?
Long version, but within a minute.
Okay. So Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, and Joe Biden were in Los Angeles for a variety of business discussions. Joe was there.
I tell you what, though, it couldn't be me or you doing any of the stuff that these people are doing. They put us under the jail. You know what I'm saying? That's what these people do. They'll put you under the jail. You better not do what they do. Shoot.
There to speak at the Milken conference in May of 2017. I had lunch with Hunter Biden at the Chateau Marmont, and he had asked me to meet with his father that night. He set up a meeting at the Beverly Hilton where they hold the Milken conference, and I got there a bit early and sat with Jim Biden, Hunter Biden, and we're just talking about what we were doing with the Chinese and the legal documents I was working through. And they had sort of coached me before Joe showed up to listen, we're going to just keep things at a very high level. We're not going to go into a lot of details in this meeting. And I just remember that discussion generally because it just struck me as odd, honestly. Joe wasn't in the White House then, that they were sort of framing it that way. And then Joe showed up, walked through the lobby of the Beverly Hilton Hotel. I stood up to shake his hand, and we sat down and spent 45 minutes to an hour going through my background.
You met with him that long?
Yes. This wasn't a handshake,
right.
A 2-second discussion about
I tell you what, though, to be in all perfect honesty, Americans, you know, I know we're going through it right now with inflation and everything else that's going on, but you better damn well be lucky that we're getting this version of Joe Biden. I know it sounds crazy. But you better damn well be happy we getting this version of Joe Biden, because, you know, it's obvious to everybody that the man is not, you know, playing with a full deck. But, you know, when he did have his sound mind and you hear some of the stuff that was coming out of Joe Biden's mouth, oh my God, if he would have had his sound mind, we would really be in trouble right now. Really be in trouble as a country. You know what I'm saying? So I think the dilemma with Joe Biden behind the scenes is you're this close to power. You're the leader of the free world. But at what cost? You don't even have your mental faculties. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the irony of it. You know what I'm saying? Being at that close to power or getting that close to power. You know what I'm saying? You notice that with these politicians, the closer you get to power, like presidency, vice presidency, or any of those positions like that, it's like a draining energy, like I said before. It zaps your energy. And, you know, that's why some people will do anything to get to it. And look what it does to them. It zaps you, drains you. If your soul is bad, in my opinion. But if you're, you know what I'm saying, touched by God in a way, I think it's like a perfect storm.
the weather. This was a 45-minute long meeting to an hour where we talked about a lot of stuff.
Very good. Thank you. Chair now recognizes ranking member asking.
But definitely check the way the Democrats go after the witnesses and stuff, as opposed to the Republicans. Republicans may do the same thing, but it's not to that extent. And they don't have the media backing to push that narrative through. And it's easier for Democrats to discredit witnesses.
For his questions.
But we're actually going to go to Mr. Garcia to begin.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you again. I just want to, just for the record, be very clear that in Mr. Bobulinski's testimony, he has provided zero evidence of any sort of link between Hunter Biden and the president, as far as it relates to the business dealings. And so once again, we're back to a hearing where no evidence is being provided of any sort of wrongdoing by the president. But I want to go back.
That's a
Mr.
blatant
Bobulinski,
lie.
actually, it's my time, sir. Mr. Bobulinski, I want to go back to the private deposition that we had. I was one of a handful of Democrats in that private, on the record, under oath conversation we had. And during that deposition, I asked you a question of which you gave a false answer to. And I want to go back to that. I asked you specifically who got you into the presidential debate that was attended by you and others. And that, of course, was a huge moment in that campaign. And you could not recall. In fact, you said, quote, "I do not recall who got me into the debate." Do you remember telling me that, sir?
You were playing semantics, trying to ask me as if somebody called me directly and gave me a ticket, like
Sir,
I was going to a movie
sir, I
theater.
asked you. I asked you.
told you
I'm
that
going to reclaim my time,
lawyers
sir. I'm
ordered
going to
me
reclaim my time. What I
Well,
said
you
was,
just asked me a question, Mr.
I'm reclaiming my time. Thank you, sir. Actually, what I asked you was,
Yeah, they
do
cut you
you
off.
recall who actually got
Reclaim
you
my
into
time.
the presidential debate? You actually said,
Reclaim
"I do
my
not
time."
recall
And
who
then
got me into the debate." You
I'm
did not
gone.
remember who got you into the debate between President Biden and between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
That's
course, we
not a
showed-
true statement.
Sir, you quoted, "I don't recall who got me into the debate." It's on page 102 of the transcript.
You did not
Sir,
ask me
I asked
whether
you
I
that
was
question.
a guest of Mr.
Thank you.
Biden
I'll
or a
reclaim my
guest
time.
of
I'm not asking you a question right now. Thank you very much, sir. In fact, here, as was shown by Ranking Member Raskin, we know that you were in the debate actually sitting adjacent and next to Trump officials. When we were confronted again on this same question, Mr. Bobulinski, if you were a guest of Mr. Trump's at the debate, you responded and you quoted, once the Wall Street Journal called you out, quote, "Is the Wall Street Journal God or something? Like you act like this is some encyclopedia of fact." And you refuse to still confirm that you were a guest of Donald Trump. So I want to ask you one more time, sir. Were you a guest of Donald Trump at the presidential debate?
Mr. Garcia, those were not the questions you asked me in my transcribed
You just
interview.
get seen
Wow.
with
Were
something.
trying
Were
to
you,
ask semantic
answer the
questions.
question, sir.
I
Were you
was
a guest of
clearly
Donald Trump?
guest of Donald Trump at the gate or at the debate.
Word
It was
you are,
obvious
you
to
not a
everyone in
guest
the
of
world at
Donald
that
Oh,
point.
it's
You
interesting.
were asking
You
me
got
semantic
discredited.
Thank you, sir.
immediately.
So you were a guest. That you answered the question, because at the time you said in the transcript under oath, "I don't recall who got me into the debate." So just to be clear. So I want to keep going. So you also call yourself, you're not a political person, yet you went to a presidential debate on behalf of Donald Trump. I also want to make it clear that you made numerous claims and allegations. You've made them today. You've made them before. And yet, even though you're not a political person, this is also another photo of you. You actually chose to show up at a press conference for Donald Trump prior to the debate because you're not a political person. Did you show up to a press conference for Donald Trump before the debate?
I can't qualify whether it was for Donald Trump.
Do you know who invited you? Sir, who invited you to the debate? Donald Trump, you said. Who invited you to the press conference?
Who invited me to my lawyers coordinated things, and I showed up at a.
Well,
press-
sir, I will tell you, it was
Did I
Jason.
go
It was
to-
Jason Miller, who it's been very clear. It's been reported, who actually worked on the part of the Donald Trump campaign. Here you are at a Donald
Jason
Trump
Miller's a
press conference,
criminal.
and you can't remember how you got to the press conference. You refuse to answer how you actually got into the Donald Trump debate with Joe Biden. Do you remember speaking at the press conference?
I do very clearly.
You do. Do you know who Jason Miller is, sir?
I do know of him. Yes.
Do you know that he was a Trump campaign staffer?
Mr. Garcia, you keep asking me semantical questions. You underestimate that I had 3 lawyers around me that were coordinating my travel, where I was going, and stuff
Well, sir,
like that. So
interesting.
please stop.
Well, I'll reclaim my time. Thank you very much. It's interesting, sir, because you show up to a
I
pre-debate
reclaim my time.
press
Don't even let
conference.
the man
You show up
respond.
to a presidential debate, both invited
Then they
by
flip it and
a
say,
person
"Oh yes, you
running
got him."
for the presidency of the United States. You know the stakes are high, yet you have no idea how you got to the press conference. You don't remember how you got to the debate. And here you are speaking at a press conference
I
of which
do
the
remember how
national
I got
media, so how did you get to this press
I
conference?
flew on a plane.
Who invited you?
Are we going in circles?
Who,
Mr.
sir,
Garcia?
who invited you to the press conference?
My lawyers told me I was invited to come to Tennessee. At that point, I was trying to get the truth and the facts out to the American people. At that moment in time, if I recall, I believe 80 million people watched that debate. And that was probably the
Thank you, sir. I reclaim my time. Well, with that, I think it's very clear for someone that can't remember how I got to a Donald Trump press conference or a Donald Trump debate.
Now you see how they operate. You see how they operate. They ask you a question, and then when you go to respond, I reclaim my time real quick. Real slick stuff that they do.
You're completely an uncredible witness, sir. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair now recognizes the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Jason Smith, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've previously heard from 2 IRS whistleblowers that Joe Biden was the brand being sold by his family members. One such example of this could be seen in a June 6, 2017 WhatsApp message where Hunter Biden told a business associate that he was not willing to, quote, sign over my family's brand, close quote, or give them, quote, the keys to my family's only asset. Mr. Bobulinski, can you confirm that President Biden is the brand being sold by his family members? Thank you. During his deposition, Hunter Biden repeatedly testified under oath that his father was not involved in his business in any capacity, and that there wasn't even a connection between his father and his businesses. Here is just one example. Quote, I just state for the record one more time, under oath and under penalty of perjury, my father has never been involved in my business. I have never asked my father to be involved in my business. My father has never benefited from my business, and I have never asked anyone or my father to do anything for the benefit of anyone I've ever done business for, close quotes. Yet the Ways and Means Committee released a WhatsApp message that were provided by the IRS whistleblowers showing that Hunter Biden wrote on July 30th, 27, quote, I'm sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. I'm sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Moreover, you testified that Hunter was not shy about his ability to get his father on the phone. And Devin Archer testified that there were multiple instances in which Hunter placed his dad on speakerphone. Mr. Bobulinski, was Hunter Biden telling the truth when he testified under oath that his father was never involved in any of his business dealings?
No, he was not. Those are all blatant lies.
We continue to hear claims that President Biden was not involved in his family's business dealings and that he did not benefit from illicit business deals. However, IRS special agent.
Now, everybody with common sense knows that's a lie. You know what I'm saying? They know, that Hunter Biden is crooked as they come. They had the laptop from hell. Everybody know about that laptop. And what's crazy about it is that the Fed had that in 2019. You know what I'm saying? So what's going on, Christopher Wray? You know what I'm saying? What are we doing, bro? You know what I'm saying? Y'all going after Trump in every way possible, but y'all sitting on a laptop with all this stuff. You've been sitting on it since 2019. And then when they grill you in front of Congress, you hide behind ongoing investigation. The swamp, bro.
Joe Ziegler provided documents to the Ways and Means Committee, 327 emails, many of which involve Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's business associates. Mr. Bobulinski, do you have any personal experience that leads you to believe that Joe Biden was involved with Hunter Biden's business associates and business dealings?
Yes, I do.
You want to say a few?
To outline how Joe was involved?
Yeah.
Yes, different congressmen and women keep trying to say that there's no evidence and use the word involved.
Now, I wanted to just show you how this video, because, really, I just wanted y'all to see how the swamp operates. And it goes to a lot to explain why stuff doesn't get done.
Where there is next to Davos is probably the biggest conference in the world. Why would he take 45 minutes out of his night? It wasn't a 10 a.m. meeting. It was 10:40 in the evening. He's an elderly man, flew all the way across country to sit with me for 45 minutes to an hour to discuss my background, the business we were doing with the Chinese, his family's background.
Speaking of the business with the Chinese, in October 2020, Joe Biden asserted that his family had not earned money through business dealings in China. However, IRS whistleblowers shared evidence that the Biden family made at least $1.1 million from their business with China, including $100,000 in payment from CFC, China Energy, and a $1 million payment in exchange for legal services that were never provided to a CFC official, Patrick Ho. Mr. Bobulinski, do you
Big
know
business, y'all.
whether the
Big
Biden family
business.
made any money from China?
They did millions of dollars. I think approximately 8 to 9 million.
The Biden family has made millions of dollars from China, correct?
Correct.
And you said at least 9 million?
Yeah, I think it's actually over 10 million, but I'll leave those details up to you guys.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Parnas, for being here today. Your involvement with the real Russian hoax about Joe Biden began in 2018 when, as a big donor
They
and a big
love
supporter
Russia,
of Donald
dude.
Trump's, you were introduced to Rudy Giuliani, and you began working with him
Rudy
to dig up
Giuliani's a
dirt
criminal.
on Joe Biden, Ukraine. If you can just tell us quickly how you got involved in that.
Yes, I was a donor at the time. I became doing business with Rudy Giuliani. He got involved in the business I was doing.
Hey, that is funny though. True story though, y'all. Long time ago, long time ago, I met Rudy Giuliani. You know, a few times really. You know what I'm saying? But one time, me and my homeboy happened to be downtown. You know, on 42nd Street, Times Square and shit. And we used to be big video junkies and stuff. And I seen Rudy Giuliani, and I guess it was an old comic. I forget his name, Jackie something, Mason or something. I can't remember. But yeah, and I was like, hey, Mr. Giuliani, you remember us? You was at our graduation. And shook his hand and stuff. He shook my hand, shook my homeboy's hand, and they asked us where we was going to high school at. And my boy said, I'm going to Bronx Science. They said, yeah, good. That's a good school. Good school. They asked me where I was going. I said, Julia Richmond. They said, you might want to find another school. I was like, damn, you had to be like, God damn, Rudy. You had to do me like that.
Doing called Fraud Guarantee. And in the midst, we started spending a lot of time together until eventually in November of 2018, he approached me and asked me about my connections in Ukraine. After telling him about people that I know and things that I heard, at that point, then he wanted me to go to Ukraine to find Viktor Shokin, the prosecutor general.
And basically, he wanted to go from his fraud guarantee to guaranteeing a fraud
and breaking
on the American people. But after turning over every stone and going down every rabbit hole, including interviewing Viktor Shokin and Zlochevsky, the owner of Burisma, did you ever find the smoking gun or any evidence that Donald Trump was looking for to paste on Joe Biden?
On the contrary, Representative Raskin, not only did we keep hitting dead walls and not finding the smoking gun, but we kept running into sources of the information that was coming out of Russia.
In fact, Joe Biden was part of a global campaign, including by the United States, to oppose corruption and to go after the corrupt forces in Ukraine. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
At what point did the campaign to dig up dirt on Biden become a campaign to spread disinformation and lies about Biden?
At some point, when we hit a few brick walls,
for sure.
All of a sudden, then I saw the shift between the BLT group, which included John Solomon, the media personality, and Rudy Giuliani and other Trump lawyers, to start trying to push narratives that were.
What's definitely funny to me about the swamp is that how did they get their people to infiltrate, to get that close to Trump? You know what I'm saying? Or Trump's people. You know, and a lot of that was going on. You know, they have somebody in Trump's administration, and then all of a sudden they turn and want to tell some stuff and try to get somebody in trouble or act like something illegal was going on. But, you know, at the end of the day, how did the swamp get their people in these positions to where it's like a never-ending stream? You get rid of one swamp creature, another one pop up. That is crazy.
We had no, they weren't validated. We had no way to validate them basically a letter would come over from somebody in Ukraine. I'd hand it over to John Solomon. Next thing you knew, he was on Fox TV 2 hours later with Sean Hannity.
Fox News bad.
At what point did Mr. Giuliani begin
Sure
working
no
directly with Russian agents and Russian assets,
at
individuals who would later become sanctioned by Donald Trump's own Treasury Department for spreading propaganda and disinformation against Joe Biden?
It was sometime in probably around May, June of 2019.
Were you aware, was Mr. Giuliani aware that these people were basically just doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely.
So he had no hesitation about spreading lies that were concocted by Russian agents?
As long as it fit the narrative, absolutely not.
How were you and Giuliani able to take these false allegations peddled by corrupt officials and Russian agents and promote and amplify them here in the United States, in our political system? Weren't media groups skeptical of your claims?
Most media groups, I'd probably say all except for Fox and a few other right-wing media groups, didn't want to take any of the information, and that aggravated Rudy Giuliani and John Solomon and other players. And the main group that was being pushed through was Fox, Sean Hannity, and some other media personnel over there. But then there was also other people that were doing the bidding for the Russian people in Congress, like Senator Ron Johnson, like Congressman Pete Sessions that sits here right now, that was with me from the very beginning of this journey into finding of digging dirt on Joe Biden.
Is Putin's war on Ukraine today, which has cost hundreds of thousands of people's lives, is that part of the vaunted Russia hoax? Russia hoax?
Absolutely not.
Is it real?
Yes, absolutely.
What does that got to do with?
I want to ask you a more personal question, if I might,
you know
Mr. Parnas, because in my several years living through this extraordinary period of American history, I've tried to ask people like Michael Cohen and Cassidy Hutchinson. I've wondered about people like General Milley, General Kelly.
All these
Why
people
did you
they
break
named, you know what I'm
with
saying?
all
Trump
of the
got rid of
deceit
them.
and corruption and lies of Donald Trump? How did you get out of that culture?
I mean, it was very difficult. I actually.
How did you get out of that
myself
cult?
and get arrested, and to be able to get out of that cult, because when you're in that cult, when you're around them, you have blinders on, and you're only able to see a certain amount of information. You're only able to hear the certain amount of information. You're not allowed to go out of the outside, out of the circle. And if you go outside the circle, then
you're not allowed to go out of the circle.
Brainwash yourself,
like it's a mob or something. Man, they be tripping.
When I was arrested,
people really do believe that.
Had some time to reflect and really understand what was going on. I started realizing, looking back and thinking back to moments in time where I started thinking myself that this can't be true, and we're doing something wrong.
Well, thank you for telling the truth and helping America to end this nightmare. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair now recognizes the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan.
When you hear talk like
Chairman.
that,
The ranking member just said that.
yo, when you hear talk like that, we got to end this nightmare. He's a threat. This is not normal. When you hear all that, they'll let you know that they're going to do some slick shit and say that we had no choice but to do this. He was a threat. He's a existential threat to this country. And then they do something criminal and blame it on that.
That Joe Biden was opposed to corruption. Really? So opposed, he leveraged $1 billion of American tax money to fire the prosecutor in Ukraine who was investigating Zolochevsky at Burisma, the company Hunter Biden sat on the board of. Wow. And the prosecutor who replaced Shokin, that Mr. Parnas referenced in his opening statement, Mr. Lutsenko, guess what he did? He took Zolochevsky off the wanted list and dropped the charges. Wow, he's really, really opposed to corruption there. Mr. Bobulinski, who's the big guy? Are you sure about that? Because when
Jordan, Joe Biden.
You're sure?
I'm 1,000% sure.
Because when Hunter Biden did his deposition under oath, he said, I don't know who it is, even though he was copied on an email that said H will hold 10% for the big guy. You sure it's the big guy is Joe Biden?
1,000%. And there's other text messages that back that up, that the brave whistleblowers, Shapley and Ziegler, have produced, not from my phones, not from my BlackBerry that I took screenshots from. They took them from subpoenas directly from Apple's iCloud that back up the fact that Hunter knew The big guy was Joe Biden.
The big guy is the brand. The big guy is the lift. The big guy is the one who showed up at golf outings, who took phone calls and meetings and lunches and dinners with Hunter Biden and his business associates. Is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Galanis, you referenced in your opening statement, May 4th, 2014, you were at a party at a restaurant in Brooklyn, New York. Can you tell me who else was there?
Yeah, it was a birthday party, so there were more than 100 people there, but amongst them was Devin Archer, myself, the host, Alex Kuklarski, Yelena Baterna, her husband, and then Hunter Biden joined.
Tell us, I think you referenced a phone call that took place. Tell the committee what happened with that phone call. Who was involved in that phone call?
As I testified in my opening statement, it was Yelena Baterina, her husband, myself, Hunter initiating it, Joe Biden on the speakerphone, and Devin Archer.
So there was a little pull aside where that group of people you just described were pulled aside, and Hunter Biden called his father's or called the vice president. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And then tell me what was discussed on the call.
The discussion that testified it was a relatively short discussion, but it was a discussion about their Yelena and Yuri coming to town. As I testified specifically, they talked about being good to his boy, and it was ended.
Well, let me ask you this.
Mentioning that,
Mr. Galanis, let me ask you this. Did you get the impression Joe Biden was expecting the call?
Yes, to me, it was clearly set up ahead of time. It was an arranged call.
So this was arranged, this was coordinated. Hunter Biden calls his father, then vice president. And I think in your deposition, he said this, I'm here with our friends that I told you were coming to town. So it's our friends, and I told you this was going to happen, which suggests that it was most definitely coordinated. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, yes.
And again, can you tell the committee who Miss Baterina is again?
A Russian billionaire, wife of the former mayor of Moscow, served for near 20 years as the mayor.
She's the wealthiest woman in Russia. She'd already given money. She'd already given money to Hunter Biden and his business before this meeting in May, and then subsequent to that meeting, she committed to give more money. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
So subsequent to the coordinated call, the arranged call that Hunter Biden had with the vice president of the United States, the wealthiest woman in Russia commits to give millions of dollars more to Hunter Biden's business. Is that all accurate, Mr. Galanis?
But because this guy is on a Zoom from prison, he is discredited. You know what I'm saying? He is not believable. He's not telling the truth. That's what they'll say. You know, you can't tell the truth when you're in prison. You know what I'm saying? But it's all about power and influence, y'all. Power and influence.
That is accurate, yes.
And again, this was a pull aside done at this meeting, and you think and you know that it was coordinated. Is this what they call access to the brand, access to the Biden lift? Is that what you would describe it as, Mr. Galanis?
I don't think there's any doubt that that was the intent of the call and the objective, yes.
And it followed the motto. It followed the statement that you all agreed to: say it, forget it, write it, regret it. This wasn't put in writing. This was a phone call on a speaker that was all. There's no writing about this. It was all done that way. That was how the business operated. Is that correct, Mr. Galanis?
Yes.
I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make an observation here. I've been on this committee, this investigating committee, for over 20 years. And as an attorney before that, I've had sufficient training and experience to say that with high confidence that when you review the entire record of evidence of these hearings going back over a year, you've actually provided more evidence to impeach Donald Trump for a third time than you have so much as laying your glove on President Biden. We keep on hearing about the Biden family. When you hear someone say the Biden family, that translates into, we have no evidence on the president, so we're going to use the Biden family to try to implicate President Biden. But by the constant bumbling and continually shifting arguments here.
Now think about this, y'all. If Eric or Don Jr. got caught in the White House allegedly with some crack, or just smoking crack in general, like Hunter Biden, don't you think that they would have put that out there in the New York Minute? You know what I'm saying? I mean, hell, they trying to destroy them too, and they ain't smoking crack. Look at what they doing in New York. But the Democrats are rough. They play business. They play hardball, y'all. They play for keeps. Don't make no mistake about that. They play for keeps. They would impeach him for a third time. Think about this. If he win, I guarantee you they'll try to impeach him again.
You've done nothing more than exonerate President Biden. We heard initially for months, we heard about the Hunter Biden laptop. And, you know, there were absolutely some embarrassing photos on that, and some awful information about Hunter Biden's personal life. I will admit that. Then you bring in your own witnesses, your legal experts before this committee, and have them testify. And what they said was amazing. They said there was no evidence to even suggest that there was support for articles of impeachment against the president. That was your legal experts, the Republican legal experts that said that. Then we have statements by Mr. Jordan saying that that Mr. Smirnov was the most corroborating witness that the Republicans had, the strongest witness that they had. And of course, after that, we find out through the Trump-appointed prosecutor that all of the information that Mr. Smirnov had provided was fabricated, false, and submitted by the inducement of Russian agents going after President Biden and trying to undermine our democratic system. And now we come to a point where, since that witness blew up, now we're going to prison, and we're reaching out to witnesses who have been convicted and sentenced to prison for stealing $80 million from the pensions of innocent workers. We can't get any lower at this point. That's your star witness. I want to remind people he's sitting in prison. That's why he can't be here today. He's sitting in prison for scamming workers' pensions. I mean, how low can you get? Then it's the Republicans' idea that this is the best guy they can get to testify.
And he does got a point, though. They do got a point. You know, so that's the best guy you got.
A guy sitting in prison.
Come on, man. That's the best you can do.
Mr. Parnas,
you're going to eat that alive.
You've talked about your own direct involvement with Mr. Giuliani, and you said that your mission was to dig up dirt on President Biden. Can you talk to us about the coordination between yourself and Mr. Giuliani?
When did digging up dirt become a crime? That's what I want to know.
So basically, it was a shadow diplomacy run by Trump and Giuliani, where Giuliani was shadow diplomacy Secretary of State.
You know, he was coach.
That was his right hand, and basically the point person.
That mug was coach. Coach, they coached him hard.
Whatever needed to be done to try to find out some corruption against Joe or Hunter Biden to be able to present. Once I would receive whatever information I received, I would then meet with him, John Solomon, other members of the team like Pete Sessions and Derek Harvey or other people there to discuss what we found. At that point, from there, Giuliani would then go to the White House and share with the president. And that was the line of communication.
You said also in your testimony that members of this committee, the Republican leadership, should have known before Smirnov was indicted that this information was fabricated about President Biden. Could you talk about that?
Congressman Lynch, not that they should have known, they did know. They knew exactly what was going on. They knew that the evidence was not vetted. This information was just coming in from anywhere from left, right.
I can bet one thing though, y'all. I can tell you this. I can tell you this for sure. One of the main blunders that Trump did in his first term in office was when he decided to go hands off with the DOJ. You see what going hands off on the DOJ did for you? Now you got tons of legal problems, but you know what I'm saying? If you would have cleaned house at the DOJ off the gate, I think a lot of you would have gone a long way to draining that swamp. And make no mistake about it this time, if he win, I bet you everybody at the Department of Justice, you're fired. Everybody at the Pentagon, you're fired. Head of the CIA, you're fired. I bet it's going to be a cleaning of our house this time. You know, they try to lie and say that we couldn't operate with a government shutdown, but it actually backfired when the Democrats shut it down. You know, they thought it would be bad politically for Trump and the Republicans, but it actually was better because Trump was able to streamline the government, and a lot of them swamp creatures couldn't work.
Right field, and it was being pushed straight to the halls of Congress without zero verification of it.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Gentlemen,
Chairman, my time has expired and I
Gentlemen.
yield back.
Gentlemen's time's expired. Before I recognize Mr. Palmer, I'd like to enter into the record the testimony of Tony Bobulinski with the committee on February 13th, 2024. It corrects the record of Representative Garcia's, who did not provide your entire testimony.
Mr.
On page
Mr.
147, you told the committee about your understanding of who
Bobulinski.
invited you.
That's what it
and it's
reminded me of,
referenced
that
by
old
Mr.
hip-hop
Garcia.
song
So
back in the
without
day.
objection, I'd like to enter into the record the entire transcribed interview
was
of
that?
Tony Bobulinski.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter for the
believe-
record an article from today's Daily Beast entitled "Texts Reveal More Russia Ties for Key
Mr.
Anti-Biden
Bobulinski,
Witness
Mr.
Bobulinski."
Okay, Daily Beast. Without objection. Chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama for 5 minutes.
Mr. Bobulinski, I have very limited time and I want to get through a lot of information, so please answer these questions with a yes or no, if you don't mind. You have met Joe Biden, isn't that correct?
Correct.
In fact, you had a meeting with Joe Biden, isn't that correct?
2 of them.
One of those times was before the Milken Conference in Los Angeles, May of 2017, is that correct?
It was during the Milken Conference.
You provided a great deal of documentation to this committee. I want to show you some messages between you and Hunter Biden, be on the screen here, in May of 2017 before you first had a meeting with Joe Biden. These are messages between you and Hunter Biden dated May 2nd, 2017. Do you recognize these?
I do.
At the bottom, Hunter wrote, "Dad, not in now until 11. Let's me and Jim meet at 10 at Beverly Hilton where he's staying." Jim is James Biden, President Biden's brother. Is that correct?
Correct.
The next set of messages is, if you put those on screen, is between another business associate of Hunter Biden's and you. His name is James. Do you recognize it?
I do.
At the top, you write, "About to meet Hunter, Jim, and I guess Joe at Beverly Hilton Hotel." Joe is now President Joe Biden. Is that correct?
Correct.
This chat between you and Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, you write to Jim, "Great to meet you and spend some time together. Please thank Joe for this time. Was great to talk. Thanks, Tony B." You met with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Jim Biden the night before the Milken Conference in 2017. Is that correct?
I did, and Jim Biden perjured himself by trying to deny that
Thank you,
meeting.
Mr. Bobulinski. That was at the Beverly Hilton, correct?
Correct.
You can provide more details around that meeting. What was the purpose of that meeting?
I didn't ask for the meeting, so I wish Hunter Biden was sitting next to me and he could under oath describe it. But the only reason why I was meeting with Joe Biden and the only reason why I was there is because I was the CEO of the enterprise that they were putting together with the Chinese company CFC.
So can you give me a little more detail about what was discussed in the meeting?
Well, as I said earlier, before Joe Biden showed up, Hunter and Jim Biden coached me, said a sort of outline that we wouldn't go into a lot of details. So through the 45 to 60-minute meeting I had with Joe Biden, I think it was about 10:40 p.m. after he flew across country. We talked about my background, my family's military background, the different business ventures I'd done around the world, the family I worked with. Joe spent time talking about his family, some of the tragedies that they had lived through. And at a high level, Hunter actually introduced me to Joe, because before Joe came and sat down with us, Hunter said, hey, give me 5 to 10 minutes. I need to read my father in on it.
So when you're referencing Joe and Hunter's father, you're referencing President Joe Biden.
I am.
Correct. These 4 images, well, in this message you sent to James again, you said you spent more time with Joe and Jim this morning, and to be factually correct, that's President Joe Biden and James Biden, his brother. Also saw them last night, including Hunter. These 4 images show a pretty clear record of your meeting with Joe Biden in May of 2017, Mr. Bobulinski. Hunter Biden, during his transcribed interview, testified that the meeting did in fact take place. And after being asked, did Mr. Bobulinski meet with your father during the trip, Hunter stated he met with him in the lobby of the hotel. When asked who attended the meeting, Hunter replied, my uncle and myself. But when asked whether the meeting at the Beverly Hilton between Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Hunter Biden, and Tony Bobulinski took place, Jim Biden testified, absolutely not. These stories don't match up. Mr. Chairman, Jim Biden also told the committee that Joe Biden did not meet the Chinese businessman Yi Jinping.
You got to be precise.
Rob Walker, by known as a friendly witness committee, said the opposite. So, Mr. Chairman, it appears to me that there are material inconsistencies between the witnesses' testimony. These witnesses' statements appear to me to be irreconcilable. In short, Mr. Chairman, someone appears to be lying to the committee. The inconsistent testimony seems to come from Jim Biden, the president's brother. Lying to Congress is a serious offense, Mr. Chairman, a criminal one, in fact. And if the Bidens or anyone else has come before this committee and lied to this committee, I strongly encourage the committee to pursue criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. One last thing that I want to ask, and Mr. Bobulinski or Mr. Galinas, have either of you heard of any offer of a pardon for anyone involved or associated with or a partner to the Biden family enterprise corruption investigation?
I'm sorry, that was a question. Have I
you heard of anyone being suggested that a pardon might be in order for anyone associated with this enterprise?
I have not.
Thank you, Mr. Bobulinski. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a parliamentary inquiry. We've heard for months now and seen the photo of that BlackBerry with the cracked screen. Does the committee have in its possession the data from Mr. Bobulinski's phone from which he's allegedly taken these pictures? Because I think we need the data that they keep referring to. And maybe Mr. Bobulinski could just turn it over to us, or we could subpoena it.
We have the images that we have shared with you.
Right, I saw the picture of the cracked BlackBerry, but do we have the underlying texts that are being referred to by my friend, Mr. Palmer?
Mr. Bobulinski previously said he'd be happy to turn over his phones.
We have pictures of all the text message screenshots that we provided with everyone on the committee.
Okay.
And
all right, well, of course, he's just given us, obviously, the ones he's selected. I'm wondering whether we could get
That's how they operate, y'all. That's how they operate.
Mr. Bobulinski's BlackBerry phone on which messages with Hunter Biden and the Oneida Holdings partners are saved. He stated that he's willing to provide it to the committee, so it should be rather simple.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Okay, there's a motion to subpoena Bobulinski's BlackBerry.
Yeah, with the texts that were just referenced by Mr. Palmer.
Chair recognizes Mr. Jordan.
I move the table in motion.
There's a motion to table.
Motion to table.
I request
the motion is to table is not debatable. As many are in favor of tabling may signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion to table is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, what we're doing is we're tabling evidence here, which you keep relying on. So I'm going to ask for a recorded vote for that. That just makes no sense.
Now, see, y'all, this is the meat and potatoes of what the swamp do. You know what I'm saying? All these tablings and motions and all that good stuff. You know, now think about this. This is what they do on everyday issues that affect us. They sit up here in these committees and and go back and forth on stuff like this, and then tables and motions, and watch how all this stuff goes down, y'all. Watch how it goes down, and then you apply other issues to the way you see these people operate, and it's easy to see how stuff doesn't get done. And really, it's all theater for show when they have the cameras on.
Recorded vote is ordered. We'll suspend for a moment. This is a committee hearing. We don't have the clerk. Will somebody go find the clerk?
He said it. Did he say under oath in the? Did he say?
Would Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Minority Leader, do you think it's possible that the witness would voluntarily just give it?
But I had understood actually that Mr. Bobulinski had volunteered when he was asked about this. It would simplify things if he would just turn it over the BlackBerry.
Well, he did very clearly say he's happy to turn over his BlackBerry to the committee. We then asked for it at the deposition. He didn't. We've asked the majority to ask for
Mr.
it.
Goldman, you're out of order. We're in suspension here waiting for the clerk to come so we can take the vote that your
Where's the
side
clerk?
of the aisle requested.
How the Republicans are going to be having a hearing and their clerk ain't even there to take the vote? And you know what I'm saying? You wonder why, man. You wonder why they look silly.
Mr. Ranking Member.
But the clerk is mysteriously not there.
Yes.
I solely want to underscore the importance of
I'm
this.
sorry, gentlelady's out of order. You can come back here and talk to him if you want.
Oh, look at ALC.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
We don't even have.
I said Ms. Ocasio-Cortez would have to come up. You will as well. Sorry.
It's crazy how they operate, man. You know what I'm saying? But you know how I and others may have the patience to sit here and watch this. You know what I'm saying? The everyday average American, you know what I'm saying? They don't have time to do this. They don't have time to sit here and see what our government is doing or see how they operate. And this is for the open public. I hate to see how they operate behind closed doors. Oh my God. Now, of course, I'm not going to go the whole way because, you know what I'm saying, they probably be here all day. But I just wanted to get to a particular part to show y'all exactly how they get down, you know, how they hold up issues in our country. Just like this. And this is just in a committee hearing, you know. So imagine when you got to take something before the full Congress on things, you know what I'm saying? That's why Congress got a low approval rating, and they don't care. They can give a good goddamn.
Mr. Chairman, just an invitation to regular order. We have Democratic clerks who are faithful to the rule of law and could do this. If you're waiting for clerks, then we'll all be here to document their work. So, I mean, in other words, if you want to conduct the vote with the Democratic clerks, we can do it.
See what I'm saying? They got to wait and get.
Well,
Then finally got to take Democrat clerks.
A recorded vote is
Democrats look
ordered.
good.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Jordan.
That's why I call the Republicans
Mr. Jordan votes
spineless
yes.
Republicans.
Mr. Turner. Mr. Gosar.
It's very important to
Ms. Fox.
separate a Trump supporter that supports
Mr.
Donald Trump
Grothman.
and the agenda from these
Mr.
spineless
Grothman
Republicans
votes
that's in the
yes.
swamp.
Mr. Cloud.
Republican in
Mr.
name
Cloud votes
only.
yes. Mr. Palmer. Mr. Palmer votes aye. Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins votes yes. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Sessions votes aye. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs votes aye. Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace votes aye. Mr. LaTurner. Mr. LaTurner votes aye. Mr. Fallon. Mr. Donalds. Mr. Donalds votes yes. Mr. Perry. Mr. Timmons. Mr. Timmons votes aye. Mr. Burchett. Ms. Green.
Aye.
Ms. Green votes aye. Ms. McLean. Ms. McLean votes aye. Ms. Boebert. Mr. Fry. Mr. Fry votes aye. Ms. Luna. Mr. Langworthy. Mr. Langworthy votes aye. Mr. Burleson. Mr. Waltz. Mr. Waltz votes aye. Mr. Raskin.
No.
Mr. Raskin votes no. Ms. Norton. Mr. Lynch.
No.
Mr. Lynch votes no. Mr. Connolly.
Nay.
Mr. Connolly votes nay. Mr. Krishnamurthy.
No.
Mr. Krishnamurthy votes no. Mr. Khanna. Mr. Mfume.
No.
Mr. Mfume votes no. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez.
Nay.
Ms. Ocasio-Cortez votes nay. Ms. Porter. Ms. Bush. Ms. Brown. Ms. Stansbury.
And once again, where is the
Mr.
Republican clerk?
Garcia.
Where they at?
Mr. Garcia votes
It's
no.
crazy, man.
Mr. Frost. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee votes no. Mr. Kassar. Mr. Kassar votes no. Ms. Crockett.
No.
Ms. Crockett votes no. Mr. Goldman.
No.
Mr. Goldman votes no. Mr. Moskowitz. Mr. Moskowitz votes no. Ms. Tlaib. Ms. Tlaib votes no. Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley votes no. Mr. Chairman.
I vote yes. And how is Mr. Burleson recorded?
Mr. Chairman votes yes. Mr. Burleson is not recorded.
See how
Mr.
slick they
Burleson
did?
votes yes.
How is Ms. Boebert recorded?
That the
Ms.
chairman had to
Boebert
point
is
it
not
out.
recorded. Ms. Boebert votes aye.
How is Mr. Turner recorded?
Mr. Turner is not recorded. Mr. Turner votes aye.
How is Mr. Frost recorded?
Mr. Frost is not recorded. Mr. Frost votes no.
Porter.
How is Mr. Fallon recorded?
Mr. Fallon is not recorded. Mr. Fallon votes aye.
How is Ms. Porter recorded?
Ms. Porter is not recorded.
No.
Ms. Porter votes no.
Will the clerk tally the report?
The swamp at work. I tell you, man.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 21, the nays are 16.
The ayes have it. The motion passes. Chair now recognizes Mr. Conley for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bobulinski, in your deposition, you were asked about taking a.
Now, like I said before, I wasn't going to play the whole thing. It's actually still going on as we speak, as I'm making this video. But it just goes to show you a glimpse inside how the swamp operates, and it's on both sides. That's why I sit back. I see things geopolitically, but it makes it not a lot of people look at things like that. So I'm able to see these swamp creatures for what they are on both sides, and this is how they hold up these laws and pass things that we may not want, because we honestly don't pay attention. It's all about a who we like game, and the Democrats are very good at it, and the Republicans love to play that fiscal conservative, responsible dad thing, and it just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work. Now, you definitely got some, you got some strong Republicans out there that's in Congress, but they have little voice because it's a money game. You know what I'm saying? You want to really drain the swamp, take the money out of politics. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how we got to the point where money had always been in politics, but once it got in politics, that's what totally corrupted our political system. You know what I'm saying? And I think you go a long way to draining that swamp if you get that money out of there. But we'll go a little bit longer, and then I'm going to cut it short.
Picture of your phone, and you said, and I quote, "I still have that phone. I could put that phone on this table right here, and every person in this room could look at that individual text and validate that it's a legitimate text and the date and time stamp on it." Are you willing to provide the committee voluntarily with the BlackBerry referenced and that phone?
I'm willing to sit in a room with both the chairman and the ranking member with my phone and their staff, and we can go through each and every text message. As I said in my interview, I had a forensics expert plug into my BlackBerry.
I didn't want that
Somebody
phone
who's
so
done
bad.
extensive work for the FBI for over 10 years with an interest of pulling all the data off that phone so I could provide it to the committee. Unfortunately, they were using Cellbrite software, which is the software that the FBI uses, and they were unable to pull the data off the phone.
Okay.
So I am more than willing to sit in a room with the Mr. Chairman and the ranking member and their staffs with that BlackBerry fully charged, and we can go through each and every message. If
Well,
that's helpful.
that's some progress, and I appreciate that, but you can understand, I'm sure, why the committee wants to look at prima facie evidence on its own.
Well, I can't, understand
Excuse
why
me,
you're
sir.
trying to
Excuse me,
imply
sir.
that I
This
haven't
is
cooperated.
Mr. Bobulinski. This is my
It's
time.
my time.
You can understand why we would want to look at evidence raw and unvarnished so that we can make our own determination. But thank you for your willingness to cooperate, at least at that level. Mr. Parnas, you observed back in 2023 in a letter you sent to Chairman Comer,
I don't understand why the Republicans is not
there were
grilling this
flagrant
guy.
examples of Giuliani interfering in Ukrainian politics, unquote. Why would Giuliani be
Been more than a
interfering
damn hour, and the Republicans wouldn't even grill this guy. I know people have seen tons of YouTube videos with the Republicans grilling the witness. Why they didn't grill this guy?
He wanted to secure Donald Trump 2020
Why
election.
didn't grill this guy?
So just a prime example of one of the things he did. He had a close relationship with then a boxer, Vladimir Klitschko, who was then the mayor in Ukraine. When the new president came over, there was rumors about maybe him not staying in office as mayor of Ukraine. Klitschko flew to New York, met with Rudy Giuliani, and then on a meeting that we had with Andrei Yermak in Spain that was relevant had to do with President Zelensky announcing an investigation into Joe and Hunter Biden. At that meeting, he also brought up the Klitschko situation and basically told Yermak that if Zelensky got rid of Klitschko, President Trump and the American people would be very upset about that because he needs to be in there.
So was Giuliani just doing this as a rogue on his own because he was a patriotic American who loved Donald Trump, or had somebody encouraged him to engage in this kind of political interference in another country?
I mean, I think he was encouraged by Donald Trump.
Personally,
personally, yes.
That's your testimony.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In your letter, you also said that Mr. Giuliani was to, quote, deliver a precise message in very strict words, unquote, with respect to the administration of the then newly installed president of Ukraine, President Zelensky. What did you understand a very strict message, or a message of very strict words, construed, and what was that message that you delivered that was in very strict words?
Yes, Congressman. He basically told me not to be nice, to be very stern, and relayed a message that unless Zelensky announced an investigation into the Bidens by Monday, this was Sunday, that there would be no cooperation, no aid to Ukraine from the United States, and the Vice President Pence at the time that was scheduled to appear for the inauguration would not appear to the inauguration.
That would seem to corroborate that very famous and beautiful telephone conversation between President Trump then and President Zelensky.
A lot of people forget about that phone call.
Basically saying, but I need a favor,
got.
And hinting that there'd be withholding of military aid until that favor was delivered. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. I was a part of setting up that phone call, that famous phone call that Trump had with Zelensky.
I think your testimony is very important, Mr. Parnas, and it's under oath.
Yes, sir.
I thank you. I yield back.
Chair now recognizes Ms. Taylor Greene from Georgia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joe Biden continues to lie to the American people about his role in his family's businesses. In 2020, he stood up on stage of a presidential debate and told the American people that his family didn't take any money from China. That was a lie. Not only was it a lie, he knew it was a lie. He knew it because he met with his son, Hunter Biden's Chinese business associates. I want to talk about CEFC, which is the China Energy Fund Committee. Mr. Bobulinski, who is Chairman Yi?
Chairman Yi was the chairman of CEFC.
Thank you. Jim Biden told the FBI and IRS that Chairman Yi was the protege of Xi Jinping, the leader of China and the Chinese Communist Party. Mr. Bobulinski, Rob Walker told this committee that Joe Biden met Chairman Yi. Are you aware of that? Yes or no?
I am now. I wasn't at the time.
And Joe Biden also met with you, is that right?
Yes, he did. Twice.
Who is Director Zhang?
Director Zhang was the number 2 at CFC.
The executive director of CEFC, the number 2?
Yeah, he was the number 2 executive, but really the point person that I worked with and the Biden family worked with, and he's the individual that Hunter Biden was shaking down at the end of July 2017, demanding that they fund the $10 million. They ultimately sent 5, but $10 million directly to Hunter Biden's account, Owasco.
Thank you, Mr. Bobulinski. I want to show you a text message that Hunter Biden sent to you and his other business associates. I'm holding it right here. I'll read it to you. Hey, Tony, I have an idea. In light of the fact we are at an impasse of sorts, and both James' lawyers and my chairman gave an emphatic no, I think we should all meet in Romania. He's speaking about my chairman. When Hunter Biden came in for his deposition, he said that he was referring to Chairman Yi and that the rest of your group referred to Zhang as a different chairman. Does this make any sense to you?
That's a lie. I never heard Director Zhang referenced as chairman, and I had direct communications with Director Zhang over WeChat. Met him in Romania, met him in Moscow, met him around the world in New York, trying to develop this business, and he was never referred to as the chairman, first of all. Second of all, That makes absolutely no sense in the context of this message because we are discussing Oneida Holdings LLC.
Thank
the
you. So
Chinese-
he was not the chairman, just to clarify. Yes or no?
Correct.
Okay. So I want to show you another text. When he said his chairman, he was talking about his dad. This is from Rob Walker. It didn't seem to make much sense to Rob Walker either. So he said that when Hunter, he said this to you, when Hunter was talking about his chairman, he was talking about his dad. When Rob Walker came in to give his transcribed interview to the committee, he basically said, well, Hunter was high or confused or mad. And Rob Walker said that he was just trying to calm things down between you and Hunter. But that doesn't really answer the question about who Hunter Biden is talking about. Hunter Biden lied to this committee. So here, clearly, he says, Rob Walker's saying he's talking about his dad. So I want to be very clear. We've established that Zhang is not the chairman, obviously. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Correct.
Let me show you another message. This message doesn't call Zhang Chairman Zhang, does it? It just says the Chinese want to do business with the Bidens. As a matter of fact, it says both coming to be my partner, to be partners with the Bidens, with an S. He, Zhang, is implied, has implied that the number one has made it clear and available to him. Who is the number one?
The number one is Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping, the president of China? Yes or no? The leader of the Communist Party, the CCP,
Yes.
is the number one.
Yes, that's the number one that Hunter was referencing in that message.
Now, let's be very clear. This was in 2017, but I would like to make it known for this committee that Joe Biden told the press in 2016, as a matter of fact, I quote, "Yeah, I am. I am going to run in 2020. He told the press in 2016 that he was running for president of the United States in 2020. So here is the Bidens doing business in China in 2017 when everybody knew he was planning to be president of the United States. Do you see that to be a serious problem, Mr. Bobulinski?
I do, and I wish this committee would thoroughly investigate it and focus on all the evidence that the SDNY has on CFC. They had FISA warrants, so they were recording conversations, and I wish they disclose all that data and fact to this committee.
Thank you, Mr. Bobulinski. I yield.
Now, like I said before, I wasn't going to play all of the video. I just wanted to give y'all a little window into what the swamp does. These people operate in a way that whereas it's like putting on theater every time you see one of these televised congressional hearings. And sometimes they go at this stuff all day. You know what I'm saying? They'll do this stuff for 10, 12 hours. And still nothing gets done. That's why, a lot of things don't get done in Congress because it's a lot of these people are on the same team. They just have to act like that for us. So when you hear the swamp, just don't think Democrat. You better worry about them spineless Republicans in there because they're just as dangerous because they get to fight Trump behind the scenes and then look like on TV that they're with him. But they're trying to hold him accountable if they do criticize him. And I don't even think the Never Trumpers exist anymore. I don't even think they have a platform. So they can't even come after anybody like they want to. But the main purpose of the video is not about the impeachment hearings because, so at the end of the day, they're not going to impeach Joe Biden, especially in an election year. It's not going to happen. The Republicans are doing this for a political game. And the Democrats play the same game when they're in office. They impeach Trump twice and will do it again if he gets back in. So this is just a political tool now. Impeachment has become a political tool on both sides that they use, to gain favor. Not with the American people, of course, but with their own swamp creatures. And this is what Trump and other great patriots and lovers of our country are going through right now. It's the dilemma of trying to fight through enemies on all sides. And personally, I can't see how that anybody can do it but Trump, because I think anybody else couldn't withstand the attacks, you know. But think about what you've seen with the way they operate, the way they motion the table, all this stuff, all these antics that they pull to delay and stall. And think about what issue, your favorite issue, and the bills that they talk about and how they do it. Some of these bills don't even make it out of committee. More or less get in front of the whole Congress to get voted on. So a lot of bills get buried before they get started. And money is at the root of it too. So it's more important that we got to drain the swamp than ever, y'all, because if not, I don't know what we headed for, but it won't be good. But let me know what you think about this video below. Like and subscribe to the channel and get back with your boy on the next one. I'll holler back at you. Peace.